today, so this is going to be real quick here, but I got this 2003 input shaft in the mail, and I started taking apart the gear set here, and this oil channel here, or lubricant channel, was really clogged. I didn't think this much material was in it, but I started getting some of the material out, and it looks like there's both sealant from the transmission case. It's a rubbery like texture, and then there's also shards of metal in there. As you can see, there's a lot. What I noticed when I started taking apart was, and I've noticed this on a few gear sets here, on the 5th gear retaining nut here, it seems to collect debris from inside the transmission. And if you actually look at the retaining nut itself here, on the inside, on that collar where you stake it to keep it from backing off, it collects a lot of debris. If I wipe that debris, it's shiny. It's clearly metal. All of this debris here is metal. It's got chunks in it. While this debris over here is rubbery, I'm going to gather that's the sealant from the end case, or possibly the top plate. I'm guessing it may have gotten in there through the end of the shaft where the fluid travels. Like I said, I didn't plan on filming today, but I wanted to get that recorded. While I'm here, I'll just note that this is the second 03 input shaft that I've found. I see these blocker rings. If you can see the material on those blocker rings, I think they changed the pattern in 04-05. That material pattern, along with most of the 03 shafts, are a lot darker. And then you'll notice this groove on here, vice the 2004-2005 shafts. So if you don't know what years your shaft is, or your blocker rings at least, I can't speak for the rest of the hardware. If you don't know what year they are, those are some indications, because the 2003 shafts don't use needle bearings, and I don't know why the friction material pattern was changed in 04-05. Maybe they did some research and found they didn't like something. A little bit about input shafts and transmissions right now. This is an input shaft loaded. This is an input shaft. These two are not loaded. And this is the other shaft in the transmission. This one I won't really cover. This one I'm not too concerned about right now. What I'm concerned about is the disassembly and assembly of the input shafts. The differences between 03 input shafts and 04-05 input shafts, as well as their breaking point. Here on the tip of the input shaft, you can see this is my old one. This is an 03. This one snapped. You can see these torsion marks on here where it twisted. And here's another 03 shaft that's got these marks all the way around it. That one's about to break. I don't want to put that one back in the transmission, so this one I'll be rebuilding. Some things I want to note: if you've never done this before, it's not hard. You take the 5th gear retaining nut off. Some people unstake it. The first time I did it, I cut it, and then I found out somebody suggested just unstaking it. So what I did this time was I just put a punch under here until I raise the staking mark up enough to turn it, and it comes right off. It's not hard at all. There's some clips in there that hold a few things on. This clip right here goes on the outside of that. The bearing holds on there, and then this has got a large clip that goes on the end of the trans case. I'm trying to hold the camera and do this at the same time, so I disassemble everything and keep it in the same order. So what you want to pay attention to here when you're taking things off is, this is your blocker ring for third and fourth gear. There's 2 blocker rings, one on each side. They go on these cones here. Some people call them a clutch cone. And this is the actual synchro assembly itself. The synchro assembly has got the fork rides on there, and that slides up and down. You've got the synchro springs in there. Then you've got your other blocker ring for the other side. The blocker rings for 3 and 4 are the same blocker rings for 5 and reverse. There's the assembly right there. Here's a naked input shaft over here, minus thrust washer. What you'll notice, the biggest difference between the 04 and the 03 and 04-05 shafts are these galleys right here. There's these grooves right here to carry the liquid under everything. The 03 shafts don't use needle bearings. The 04-05 shafts do. The 03 shafts, most people agree, they're all a lot darker. These galleys here too, I've seen a lot of stuff. I don't know if you can see in there or not, but I've seen a lot of stuff collect in there too. This one's actually clogged pretty bad. And this one right here, I think you can see, yeah. I don't know how well the camera's going to be able to see through those, but you can see through all 3 of these just fine. Well, on this one, this center one's clogged up. The center one in there has got a lot of debris. It's got a lot of sealant, chunks of sealant, and little pieces of metal shavings. Something I wanted to highlight here too, as far as these teeth go, is you'll see here when everything's spinning and you're trying to get into gear, the friction material will stop on the cone and allow you to lock into gear. And you can see here, these teeth are chewed up very bad. This gear set right here I actually had in the car. It was pretty hard to get into third and fourth. I could still do it, and it didn't grind. I just had to push really hard. This right here is a new OEM synchro. You can see the teeth are nice and sharp. You can also see the amount of friction material on the new one compared to the old one. That new one's got a lot more friction material on it. The old one, there's actually chunks missing in the friction material. It's falling apart there. So I'm hoping to fix my issues with third and fourth with this synchro. And when DCR's group buy comes to fruition, I'm hoping to get 1 and 2 taken care of. I've already got their other synchro on order. I don't got any fancy schmancy JT money vise, so I just have this in a regular vise. It's in there pretty strong. I'm going to unstake the 5th gear retaining that. And break. So this is how you press off 5th gear. And once we've got fifth gear off, you can remove everything else. This is your speed gear. And this synchronizer's actually got a good amount of material on it. I expected it to be a lot worse. You can see the 2004 and 5 model have a different synchro pattern. Remove the synchronizer. The needle bearing. That's your needle bearing. And then there's a snap ring on here that holds the synchronizer onto the shaft. Block it off the back. Remove the synchronizer. Here's your blocker ring for the other side. Now I'm not an expert, but I'm going to say that's my third gear side. See how terrible the material is, how it's completely gone? I can't get into third gear at all in this transmission. So that's got to be the third gear side for anybody wondering. Here's your other cone clutch. Then you've got your other needle bearing for you 2004, 2005 owners. People on 03 gear shafts won't have this. And then you've got your thrust washer. That thrust washer needs to be replaced as well. That's going to have to come off with some pliers. I gotta wake up with this one. Here, you want to get this for me?
You don't got to lube it up or nothing like that?
Nah.
Huh?
Dude, this is the new thrust washer. Thrust washer goes on first. And then alright, thrust washer's on. Make sure it's seated all the way around. These needle bearings, make sure none of the bearings are popping out, because they do pop out. And the new needle bearing goes on the shaft like that. Turn it up a bit. It rides like that. Really small. That's what the new friction material looks like. What you want to do is you see these galleys right here. You want to make sure there's two of them. You want to make sure those galleys are lined up with the oiling holes in the input shaft, or else it's not going to get lubricated. Cool. Huh? Alright, so we got the synchro on, we got both blocker rings on. So we're going to replace the snap ring now with the new hardened snap ring.
How much was all that software right there? All that hardware, extra shit?
1,500,
1,500?
including the shaft. The new needle bearing. And then the cone clutch for the other side. Make sure everything moves freely. And then fifth gear. And then that's as far as fifth gear is going to go on my hand. What we're going to do is we're going to press fifth gear and press the outside bearing on. I've got fifth gear back on, it's lined up, we're coming down on the press. I just do it until it looks right.
Okay. Everything seats in flush.
I just put some pressure on it. Until it doesn't move anymore. That seems good to me.
I'll stand it back up too. So I have a nice stomach. How do you know what to stop, bro?
I don't really. I just go, I mean, it's flush. You can see in there, I can see it's flush. I'll Josh to actually verify, because I confused myself here. This fifth gear here that goes on the shaft, there's one side of it where the inner diameter is slightly larger because there's no teeth there. So the teeth are recessed on this side and they're flush on this side. And I wanted to verify that I was actually putting it together right, and he said, yep, the flush side goes against your retaining nut. So that's something to watch when you're putting it together. Another thing to watch when you're putting the shaft together is make sure these speed gears move. I put one together and I had got this gear on too far. Something was misaligned and this one wasn't moving. So I put it back in the press, took it back off, checked everything, threw it back on there, and it's good to go now. Now if you unstake these fifth gear retaining nuts properly, you can reuse them. I'm using a new OEM one because this is my personal input shaft and I don't want anything to break. One of you guys just hold it under there? Recording on it? The factory stakes it, I think, 4 times. I staked the nut twice so I can reuse it.
There you know? There it goes. Whoosh. exciting. Yeah. Put that differential on my car. Make it really good. Did you do it? No, look. Did you do it? No, look.